Okay, so why don't we start off with we've got 20 minutes, so our panel is going to be fast-packed, jam-packed. Let's start off with some quick introductions, who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Adam Roseman, co-founder of SteadyIQ, and we focus on cutting out the $200 to $500 billion a year in federal waste that goes out in overpayments in the entitlement system.
Jameson Braun, I'm with Salesforce. I lead our global public sector.
Ryan Steelberg, Chairman, CEO of Veritone, public company AI since 2014, former ad tech Googler, so I'll talk about that.
Awesome.
I'm Dan Wright. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Armada. We are the hyperscaler for the edge, building AI infrastructure for the 70% of the world that doesn't have AI data centers.
Mike Merchant, founder and CEO of Codazen. We've been a long-term partner to Meta. We helped Oculus build their stack in the early days.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much all for joining us today. So why don't we just start off? Each of you, and we'll go down the line. What is the thing that you are currently working on that you're most excited and inspired about?
Well, I think from my perspective, there's going to be massive displacement as a result of AI, massive workforce displacement in particular. And right now, we have an entitlement system, a benefits ecosystem, which is our nation's largest line item on our federal budget, that's about 50 years old. And we're going to be dealing with a situation where there are going to be millions and millions of new individuals who are going to need some form of economic support, right, as we go through this massive displacement. So we've got to get that system right prior to this occurring. We should have already gotten this system right. We talked about, Ryan mentioned earlier, what 10% of our federal budget could do relative to advancing our space competitive positioning. Well, you've probably got 5% of that right now that's going into the hands of individuals who don't qualify, whose incomes are way too high, criminal enterprises and nation adversaries who are just stealing our funds. So from our perspective, I'm excited to close those holes.
And I think from Salesforce's perspective, I think it's really two pieces, especially in the public sector. Right? We have 8,000 commercial clients that are fully leveraging the agentic revolution today, really creating that competitive differentiation on the global landscape. So the first piece is getting that digital labor exactly into the federal government. And I think the second piece that's super important for us right now is what we call agentic fabric. So you're going to have this orchestrator, this conductor, when you have multiple agents operating simultaneously or in parallel, that's making sure that they are all working in synchronicity.
Veritone, we're all focused on the data and application side of the AI ecosystem. As a whole example would be, it's great we have all this infrastructure, but the true lifeblood is the data that you're acting upon. So obviously unstructured data is still the largest form of data that's being created. Obviously, the transformer model was birthed from the ad tech industry. So we're specifically focused primarily on media and entertainment and communications. And then now we're working with the DoD, the DOJ, and state and local law enforcement.
We're very focused on American AI and energy dominance. Historically, you always had to take data, send it to some faraway data center, do the data processing, and send insights back. The problem is a lot of data today is being generated in remote locations, for example, oil rigs, mines, etc., generating terabytes of data every day. And so it's not practical to send all that data to the cloud. If you're in some faraway location, too much latency, too expensive, not secure. So what we're doing is we're actually bringing the AI data center full stack to the data and the energy where it lives, and enabling things like fully autonomous rigs, more automated decision making for key decisions in the mining process, and even deploying these on Navy ships in the middle of the ocean.
Thank you. At Codazen, we're focused on bringing forward the next generation of the web. The web has produced the most valuable companies in the world. I'm happy to be here with the Internet Marketing Association representing the web. All of these infrastructure companies that have presented today, the web is the interface to that economy, right? The web is how all of us transact, how all of us use Amazon to order, how we all search on Google. And so the next generation of the web, and for the United States to own that, to drive that, needs to be a national priority. So what Codazen's doing is taking the concept of the metaverse and applying that to today's web. And that's what we call the immersive web. Because we don't believe we're going to be using 3D interfaces for everything. We believe in a hybrid of bringing today's 2D web into a 3D space and being able to leverage that to present content, to engage with each other.
Awesome. Let's keep going down that sort of thread. So, beyond all the hype, what do you see as the most sort of relevant business applications today?
Wow, so many. You're talking to an individual who's never written a line of code in his life, who's now produced over 1 million lines of production code this year.
Well done.
Which is like 150 years of what would have been developer time just 5 years ago. So from my standpoint, it just changes every day. Right. I mean, last week, for any of you who saw, last week, the Sora 2 launch, right, from OpenAI. My kids, all of a sudden, I'm doing TikTok videos, and today, OpenAI is supposedly launching a new agentic system that's going to enable you to be able to develop very significant business workflows just with moving blocks. Right. There's been a couple of entities out there, largely N8N, which has been the most prominent, that's been enabled. That's enabled the ability to create very automated workflows really across any type of business application. You can tie together 10, 20, 30 of them to produce automated work that we could have never imagined. And now that's going to move into the hands of consumers today with their ability to tie together their emails with the news that they're looking for today, making phone calls, really so many different aspects of their lives. So I think the amazing thing to me is just how quickly it's changing and how quickly it's moving from needing to have development expertise and advanced development expertise all the way into the hands of a non-technical consumer.
Yeah, I think it's the agentic revolution, just right at large on the scale of what we call digital labor. And the example I'll give is internal to the government. Health and Human Services at CMS runs 86 different contact centers. So if you go back to the AI action plan, on page 25, it gives you 25 super high impact use cases on leveraging this idea of digital labor. So think what happens if we stop spending $6.6 billion per year across 86 different contact centers in just one federal agency, and start using digital labor to get you higher quality, more consistent answers in the language of your choice in the United States of America. That's pretty powerful.
For us, I'll just give you two. So I would say for over 10 years, a lot of media and entertainment customers, the Disneys, the ESPNs, have been leveraging cognitive AI to index that tonnage of content for years. You don't see SportsCenter right now. It's one program per year. It's personalized, and that's been using cognitive AI for almost a decade. A lot of that same technology now helps empower state and local law enforcement. We're producing content, body cameras, dash cams, security cameras throughout the cities. All of that is now being processed by AI, either whether it's to help find the bad guy faster or to obfuscate your face, right? Redaction. So I think there has been some very practical applications that have been going on. The technology keeps advancing, but I think there's been some very discrete and very tangible applications that have been generating a lot of revenue for companies. I am public. It's a whole new vibe for me these days. I've actually had been doing a quarterly return, but I think there's been some very practical applications that have been going on for a while. Amazon is a big partner of ours. We do a lot of work with them, obviously on the advertising side, and we also now mobilize a lot of this data to help train the next generation models, the world models, the JIPA models, the next generation, right, Sora models. A lot of these things are actually built on a lot of this audio and video unstructured data that we're now harvesting.
Yeah, I would just say we're seeing a few different trends converge in a way that makes real-world AI at the edge possible in a way that it never was before, and now it's being adopted very quickly. The first is connectivity, right? Connectivity was historically a huge blocker when it came to AI. Starlink didn't exist 5 years ago. It launched in public beta in November of 2020. Now it is in 150 countries and a lot of remote parts of the US. So suddenly the connectivity problem is being solved. At the same time, you see an explosion of data at the edge. That's because, as I mentioned, you've got cameras and sensors and other types of data sources. They are generating terabytes of data, largely unstructured data, in remote locations, and there's no good way to process that data unless you do it locally and then send the metadata to the cloud. The third thing that's happening is, as Keith rightly mentioned, you have AI going mainstream, right? ChatGPT launched about 3 years ago. Now every Fortune 500 CEO is playing with it on their phone, along with many other AI applications, and they're saying, how do I actually use those really powerful AI applications on the ground at the edge on all of my assets and in my operations? And it's more accessible to people that are actually doing the hard work on the rigs, at the mines, on the ships. And so what we're doing and what we're seeing is that we're helping these companies adopt AI in their operations in a way that is going to have a huge impact on both their own top and bottom line as well as GDP. Things like doing fully autonomous rigs, which I think you're going to see in the next few years. Things like moving towards more autonomy when it comes to maritime and shipping applications. And then obviously there's huge implications for national security and defense as well, given that increasingly conflicts are being resolved with drones, autonomous technologies, and you're going to need a lot of data processing in remote locations, even the middle of the ocean, the Arctic, et cetera, to do that. So those are the types of problems that we're seeing and the applications that are really being adopted quickly.
Yeah, in my world, AI is so important for both content creation, creating worlds, creating assets, creating entire compositions, and then also intelligent assistance in both normal 2D web experiences, like you said, personalized recommendations, but also in spatial environments. You're going to have intelligent AIs that can come along with you, that can show you a real estate tour and talk intelligently about the items in the house around you and walk you through a home. So that spatial intelligence application of AI is going to be really powerful in the immersive web.
So I think that's a great example of something that maybe we haven't all seen before that's coming. What are some other examples that you think are areas that are like ripe for disruption that maybe we haven't seen yet?
Well, I think that the exciting thing to me is the building blocks are already there, right, for so much. And right now, to Dan's point, it's just, I can't remember, maybe it was to Ryan's point, those CEOs who are sitting with ChatGPT in their hands, they're trying to figure things out. Well, there's people who already can figure those things out. And as models get more advanced, it's great. But the number of things that can be done right now that haven't been done yet with the building blocks that exist, or at least not been done at scale, is so tremendous that, I think from my perspective, I can't put my finger on one particular item because it's going to impact every single industry. And I think from a business perspective now, right, and I've done a lot of informal consulting to friends with venture-backed businesses. If AI is not becoming your operating system of your business, you've got big problems.
And I think it's really speed to mission. So I'll give an example. I love the edge of this, the edge of the spear. Autonomous agents, grab the energy and utility business as an example, or oil and gas, right? Far reaches where we subject operators and humans to great degrees of safety and security, going vast distances to accomplish things. Think now, a trigger that happens, an autonomous agent is deployed via drone or robotic capability, who can then autonomously take action on whatever that emergency is on the far edge of the world. Right, reducing the friction, helping with operator safety, security, super powerful.
Man, we could talk hours about this, but so I think, to me, obviously I'm biased, but the Google Transformer phenomena was really the precursor to ChatGPT in my mind, right? So obviously, if you think about most AI at that grand scale are fundamentally public opportunities, meaning Google search was the best training data of all time, right? And they had an ad model behind it in a $1 trillion ad industry to pull it, okay? But they chose to keep the technology proprietary to make their ad engine and their search engine better, right? ChatGPT, frankly, ripped off the open web, right? Built their own knowledge graph and introduced ChatGPT fast. But I think most of us are still experiencing, it's getting more personalized. If I do the exact same query on a prompt on any of the platforms, you and I together, we're getting different answers now. So I think you're going to see two radical things, is personalization, right, of large transformer models or futuristic models. And then second, I think what you touched on, which is critical, is sovereignty, not just for I'll say geopolitical sovereignty of AI, but enterprise. So in effect, this can be highly specialized for my business, for your business. And so I think we've only touched a fraction of the data going into these models. we're still limited to what was publicly available, and that's now being licensed. You're now going to be able to see, because of everything we're talking about here, because of edge from the efficiencies of compute, that there's going to be specialized models, not just for us as individuals, but for corporations.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the kind of full stack solutions when it comes to AI. I'll give you a couple of specific examples. So one is anything with drones. Drones produce huge amounts of unstructured data. A lot of that data today is not that useful in these more remote locations because the utility of data drops really quickly as time goes on, right? Data is most useful right at the moment that it's generated. And so an application I like to give people is you take an oil rig in the middle of the ocean or the middle of the desert in Saudi Arabia. We work with Aramco, so we know this very well. They cannot actually, by law, move the data off of the rig. It's critical national infrastructure, and they're the most cyber-attacked company in the world. And so the only way to do anything with AI with that data is to co-locate the compute there right on site and use drones to do things like do 24/7 inspection of these rigs, and then you can use a transformer model to automatically generate a well report, which otherwise a human would have to do. It takes a ton of time, lots of labor-intensive tasks that happen like that. You can now automate a lot of those tasks in a way that wasn't possible just a few years ago. Another example is manufacturing. I think people don't fully understand how much robotics is going to change the game for everything. It is the physical manifestation of AI. If you go to a factory, let's take a large cement manufacturer factory in the middle of a rural part of America. And a lot of people are doing a lot of manual tasks. Many of those tasks can be, I think, in the next couple of years, done by robots. And so I think you're going to see just a huge impact on GDP and also, a huge impact in terms of reshaping the world order. I really liked what Keith said about only 34% of countries have AI infrastructure. We need to make sure that all the rest of those countries run on the American AI stack and are using our AI. We wake up in 5 years and everybody's running on the Chinese AI stack via Huawei, that's a huge problem.
Big problem.
Yeah, wearables are a really exciting area for spatial information being collected and as a source for AI. Robotics need to be able to learn to work in our world, and wearables, that first-person view, we're going to be able to provide that data to robotics as well. So all these things are going to be able to converge and power this next generation technology.
Awesome. Well, we got a couple of minutes left, so we're going to go rapid fire. Is there a company, tool, or a person that's maybe under the radar that everyone in this room should be aware of?
I think I heard the name earlier, Michael Kratsios in the White House right now, who's making decisions relative to efficiency with our federal budget that are going to benefit all of us and have more impact than any single enterprise will be able to have.
Awesome.
And I'm going to jump on the product side for you to revolutionize your work operating system with something called Slack. If you're not using it, look at Sam Altman, right? Sam said on his own OpenAI, he goes, hey, listen, we're not bringing Slack into OpenAI. We bring OpenAI into Slack because it fundamentally gets rid of the linearity of the way that we've been taught to do business. So on the agentic revolution, I'd push you to Slack.
I'm going to say Meta. I'm pretty, obviously I'm a Googler, but, we've gone through the LLMs, and there's probably like 8 different flavors of the algorithms that are these transformer, I'll say these fundamental AI models. And we'll see. These world models, we'll just say us, we've already indexed the world on a 2-day basis, right? We can't even imagine not having a map on a 2D basis in our pocket. Now, we're not just doing it from 3D, but now we're doing it with motion, whether it's robotics or everything. So, obviously, Meta is going hard after the world model of JIPA, which is, let's say, a new derivative, which is learning from world models, real data, like everything we're talking about here. So I'm curious how they're going to do it. Second thing is, philosophically, they opened up their models a long time ago, right? In terms of, from our ability to catch up and have dominant AI stacks around the world. They were really one of the first initiatives to open up the Llama models. So I'm curious to see how they compete with, frankly, some of the little bit bigger names in the AI space, see how Meta does here over the next 10 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll give you a few real quick rapid fire. So first is in defense, right? We're going to hear from Palmer Luckey later today. Anduril, obviously most people have heard the name, but they're coming out with new technologies all the time that are going to be game changing, right? I think a lot of people were kind of mind blown when it came with Roadrunner, rather than having to fire off missiles to knock drones out of the sky, being able to fire off a technology that if it misses, and it's 80K by the way, instead of $1.5 million or $2.5 million, if it misses, it lands itself and it can relaunch, right? Lots of new technologies like that coming in the defense area. That's a huge deal. Hadrian in manufacturing, right? Advanced manufacturing is also massive when it comes to GDP and when it comes to just making sure that America continues to lead in that area. You're going to see more and more processes in manufacturing be automated over the next few years. And the last one I'll give you is Gecko Robotics. I think that robots for industrial operations are also going to be a game changer, making sure that you can have them doing 24/7 inspection of things like oil pipelines, dams, so that you catch issues way before you end up with a unplanned downtime or an incident that actually costs human lives.
And I'll just throw in, if you want to write millions of lines of code like Adam, Cursor is a great tool for that. And make sure your teams are using it as well.
Awesome. Well, panelists, thank you so much. Thank you for your time today, and look forward to great conversations through the rest of the day. Thank you.